All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to go through a little test review on polynomials, multiplying, combining, distributing, and finally foiling. So to get started on this very first question, there's one like this at the start of the test. There was one like this on the start of Wednesday's quiz, and I hate to say that we were about 50% right and wrong on this question, which is basically designed to have almost everybody get it right. So I was a little bummed going through this. Always a good idea to write your coefficients down. For this question, we have 1, 1, and -1, and we're going to multiply those coefficients. Remember, the rules for multiplying is multiply the big numbers, which is how we get to -1 as our coefficient. And then our variables, we're going to switch over and we're going to add these variables together. So how many x's do we have? I know we have 21. I know we have 9. 21 plus 9 is 30. But don't forget about this guy in the middle. We should have 31. Hopefully that seems easy and obvious, but I will say on the test or on the quiz, we had a bunch of people that were 1 short because they just forgot about that guy, didn't include him. Okay? The next question, we're going to kind of pick up the pace a little bit. It's the same thing. It's almost easier just because it's a more regular question, right? Multiply the big numbers. -7 times 9 is 63. And then do one letter at a time. Look at the x's. We have 0 and 2, so we have 2 x's. And then look at the y's. We have 9 and 1, so we have 10. Awesome job. We're just going to keep going. I'm actually going to go to number 4 and then do number 3 after that, because number 3 we're going to kind of save for last in this section. Number 4 has 3 pieces and it has fractions, but that really doesn't make it that much harder. We have Desmos. We're just going to use a calculator, type it in, multiply the big numbers 15 times, -2/3 times fraction 1/5 is -2 and -2. Then we're going to move on to the x's. Our x's, we have 4, 1, and 0, so I'm looking at 5. That's these 4 and this 1. Then I'm going to move on to the y's. I see that we have 6. That's it, right? Only 6 y's. And then we can look at the z's, and I see 3 and 8, 11. Just taking it one letter at a time, just adding them up. I hope when this test shows up on Monday, you can just boom, 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 knock out these 3 questions, get them all right, no stress, maybe 1 minute each, and just be ready to move on. Okay? Now, on the very first day, we learned how to do this type of question. And I use this exact highlighter to put an orange box around the shape. And I said this would likely be the hardest on the test. But then you guys have done a really good job on these questions. So maybe it's not the hardest on the test. These questions are definitely weird looking. These questions have very strange exponents, but we're just going to treat them like a normal question. So for this number 3, we're going to start with the -8 times -1, which is going to be +8. And then we're going to count up how many x's we have. But this is where it gets a little funky because we can't just say, 2 plus 3. We have a much more complicated exponent. So I'm going to write that exponent over here, -8 y minus 6. And I'm going to write this exponent over here as well, 1 plus 4y. And we know that the rule for multiplying monomials is to add the exponents. So we're going to just add together this stuff. It definitely looks crazy, but when it comes to adding, all we got to do is combine like terms, keep it nice and easy. So we're going to start with these y terms. Okay, I'm seeing negative 8y's and positive 4y's.
Negative 4y.
I heard negative 4y, that's correct. And remember, what this is this is going to become our exponent, the thing that floats over the x. So that negative 4y needs to go up there on top of the x. Then we're going to look at the numbers that don't have any y's. Negative 6 plus 1, negative 5.
Oh, that's easy.
It really is. You know, this test is kind of interesting because some of the questions have a lot of math. For example, if you look at question number 6, there's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of letters. That's very mathy. Some of the questions don't have a lot of math.
Right.
Like number 3, it looks crazy, but all we did was 8 times 1, negative 8 plus 4, and negative 6 plus 1. That was 3 simple combinations of multiply, add, and that was the whole thing. So sometimes it's difficult because of the math, sometimes it's difficult because of organization, sometimes it's not difficult at all. It's just pretty easy. All right, we're going to keep the pace going, maybe even pick it up a little bit, because this is what we're best at. You guys are rock star distributors, so let's keep that going. Number 5 is a distributing question. This is a quick one that we're going to be able to knock out super fast. 5 times 4 is 20. How many x's on that 20? 7. 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. How many x's on that? 6. And we're done. Really quick, distributing, no stress. We do it, we're done, we move on. Number 6, like we said, has a whole lot of stuff going on here, but we just take it one step at a time. We'll be all right. And I do want to give you a little bit of a warning. It always is this guy on the end that messes people up. Okay, we've talked about this. It's always the little bro at the end of the question that people mess up and they kind of don't treat him fairly. All right, 10 times 8 is 80. And we have 11 x's because we have 8 and 3. And we have 3 y's because we have 1 and 2. Everybody okay with that first term? Okay. The middle one, I'll give you the coefficient, negative 60. You tell me the x's. What do you think? X4 and the y's. Y7. Nice job. And it's always this last setup. It's always this last person here. On the quiz today, this one kid got a 104, got every single question right and the bonus, and they basically stopped their answer right here. They just literally totally forgot that this kid even existed. And that's the only points they lost on the whole quiz, which is kind of a bummer. So, do our distributing. 10 times 1 makes 10. We have 3 x's and 1 x, which makes x 4. What do you think about this as a final answer?
No, because you have to add the 1.
Right. Don't forget that even the y squared needs to come all the way over here and become y squared. It's always that last guy that students mess up. But again, we're pretty good at distributing, so let's keep going. Number 7. This one says find the area. Now, we've got on the sideboard, perimeter means add, area means multiply. So we're going to take these two things and multiply them together. This is a nice little one-piecer, and this is a big three-piecer. That would be called a trinomial, like a tricycle. So if we've got a small little one-piecer and a triple, let's put the one piece in front of the triple. That way, it looks like distributing, and it makes it as easy as possible. This question really ends up being easier than number 6. What's up? Sure, did you make a pass? Quick. 3 quick distributings. I'm looking at 21x4. I'm looking at negative 35x cubed. And I'm looking at 28x squared. Don't forget the x squared. Don't forget the letters on the last term. It's got to be x squared.
Simple.
So even though some people today were like, oh my God, Mr. Collier, these area questions are scary, at the end of the day, just multiply them. It's either going to be distribute or it's going to be foiling. Now, we're going to move on to the final frontier, which is foiling. And foiling is something that we've worked on the last 2 days. And I'll be honest, it might be the thing that you guys are best at. You guys are doing really well. Remember, with foiling, you want to think about this second set of parentheses and distribute one at a time into that. So we're going to go with the x on the way in, which is going to give us 2 terms. X times x is x squared. And then x times negative 7 is negative 7x. We've talked about this week that it's always this pattern. You always have x squared in the first column and x in the middle column. And then let's do 9 and distribute that. 9. Sharon, you want to follow along with us? No usamos teléfono. 9 times x is plus 9x. 9 times negative 7 is negative 63. We already did negative 63 on top of the paper. It was the same exact one. And now that we've done foiling, we just need to look to combine these middle two. X squared minus 63. And now our brain has to switch into adding mode. We're not subtracting, we're not multiplying, we're just doing nice simple adding. If you're not sure what it should be, go to Desmos and type in both numbers exactly how they look. A minus 7 and a positive 9. No extra symbols, no extra nothing. Should be a plus 2. And we have x plus x is going to stay x, because when we add, we don't change it. Remember, we're always looking for this pattern. X squared, x, no x. We're always looking for that pattern. All right, there's your little FOIL review. We're going to blast through these next 2 questions really quickly. We've got 7x, distribute that. That's going to be a pretty quick one. 14x squared minus 28x. Somebody else want to help me with distributing the 3 since I did the first part?
6x.
6x minus 12. Perfect. Again, all we need to do is combine these middle terms. It'll be 14x squared. It'll be minus 12. And in the middle, just type it in exactly how it looks. Minus 28, positive 6. You don't need any extra symbols. I'm getting negative 22x. And we want that pattern, x squared, x no x. Moving on. Last one here, and we will get something interesting for this question. So for this question, we're going to distribute and if you notice for this question, it's very repetitive. It says 3x plus 2, and it says 3x minus 2. So those are very similar, just a little tiny bit different. Yeah, just sitting down. Gotcha. Click, click, click. Distribute the 3x. So if I go to distribute the 3x, I'm going to get 3 times 3 is 9x squared. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6x. I'm going to go ahead and distribute the positive 2. So the positive 2 is going to make positive 6x and minus 4. So I just need to combine these middle two terms. And what is minus 6 plus 6?
0.
This is actually 0. This is a pattern that you study a lot when you get to Algebra 2 and why this makes 0. But the bottom line is, in Algebra 1, we just do the foiling. We notice that it makes 0, and our answer is 9x squared minus 4. All of this middle stuff is 0. It just disappears, evaporates, goes away. All right, that was the whole front of the test review. That was 10 questions. I think we've been going for about, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. I wonder if it lets me know. It doesn't. Well, let's flip over to the back. I'm not sure we're going to do all these questions. I'll tell you right now, we're crossing off number 12. Not planning to do number 12. I definitely need us to do number 11, but you know what? Let's cross off number 13 if you're desperate for one more. All right, there we go. We'll do 4 more questions. So number 11, we did some review on this. I even told you that this is a guaranteed on the SOL question. This is a guaranteed on the test at the end of the year that determines if you know what you're doing or not. So this is a great question to learn because it will matter later on. Now, we have this squared, and we have to make sure we know what that squared does, how that changes things, how that affects our number. And I always like to think about 5 squared, because 5 squared, which we all know is 25, 5 squared is because 5 times 5 is the same thing. What squared means is repeated. What 5 squared means is 5 times itself. It means 5 twice. So whenever you see this squared, what we're going to do is we're going to write it twice. We'll talk about 16 in a second, but we did not already do number 16. That is a great question. It does look exactly the same, but the words are different. Yes. So still on number 11, 2x plus 1. We just write it twice. Escribes dos veces. And once we've written it down twice, now it's just the easy FOIL. This is actually one of the easiest foiling questions that you can even possibly make. Okay? So I'm going to give you guys about 30, maybe 45 seconds to try to solve this question on your own. This is, if you can't foil this question, you might be, needing to study over the weekend. So I'm giving you guys some time. I'd like to see people knock out number 11. Do your multiplying, do your combining. Okay, that's about 30 seconds. When we go to do this question, with FOIL now, it's distributing the 2x, 4x squared plus 2x, that's pretty straightforward. We go to distribute the 1, and we're working with 1 times 2, which is another 2x, and 1. This is, again, about as easy as it gets. 4x squared plus 4x plus 1. The math that you just had to do is literally 2 times 2, 2 times 1, 1 times 2, 1 times 1, 2 plus 2. Pretty doable, pretty easy. I think definitely you guys can handle that one. Okay, we're going to do, what, 3 more questions left. That one only took us like 2 minutes or something, and that was with me pausing to give you guys a chance. Number 14. Now, number 14, it kind of looks like foiling. I see that 14, we have parentheses, parentheses, and it kind of looks like a super hard FOIL question because we have a triple trinomial and we have a triple trinomial. That would be pretty tough. But what is in the middle of the parentheses? The plus sign. Are we supposed to multiply these together? No. We just add. All we need to do is combine like terms. Right? Which we talked about earlier is literally what we did on the first day of class, combining like terms. So, we can definitely handle combining like terms. We've been doing it for months. Looking at this, I'm going to start with my x squared terms. I see that I have another one over here. I have a 1x squared. And what is 5x squared plus 1x squared? So add the numbers. 5 plus 1 makes 6. We have x squared plus x squared makes x squared. When you add them up, don't change the letters. It's exactly like we did right here. X plus x makes x. You don't change the letters when you do adding. So down here, these two x squareds, they do not change the letters. Let's go on to our x term and our x term. This time it's 8 minus 7, which is 1 and x. So the truth is, subtraction is the same thing as adding, but you're just like adding a negative number. So, which is kind of like a corny math teacher thing to say, but the way I think about it is it's always adding. Subtraction kind of stops existing for the most part. We're just adding negative numbers. So like for this next one, it says negative 11, positive 16. And some people would say, like, is this a subtraction of 11? Is this an adding, a negative 11? Here's what you do. Just go to Desmos and type in exactly what you see. I see a negative 11. I see a positive 16. No extra symbols, no extra plus, no extra minus, just whatever is there. And so we have 5 plus 5.
What
did you say? What did you say?
I said it looks like 210 for X's.
Right. So, the reality is when we're doing these polynomial answers, this kind of setup is kind of where we end up. Yeah, the answer does kind of look like a FOIL answer. That's a very clever, astute thing to discover there. All right, 2 questions left. This one, it kind of looks like foiling because it is a parentheses, parentheses, We've got a double and a triple, or a binomial, trinomial, but we have a minus in the middle.
We're not
Now,
multiplying them, right?
nope, we're going to
No?
subtract them.
We have to rewrite it.
And what I like to do with this minus is to change
Oh, that's right.
all the symbols there. Change. So I want to change the sign of all of my numbers in the parentheses. So I want my -4 to change. +4. -9 to change. +9x. And my +7, -7, x squared. And once I change all of these, the 4 is changed, the 9 is changed, the 7 is changed, then I don't need that stuff again. Now I'm only going to work with the original and the changed. Same thing, I'm looking for like terms, so I see that I have 4x squared and -7x squared. Again, don't overcomplicate this, just type in what you see. A +4 and a -7. -3. There we go. -3x squared. Move it on. Let's use yellow maybe. I'm going to now look for my x's, right? I'm going to see that these 9 x's are my only x's. So I'm going to go with +9x in the middle. And I'm going to finish with the numbers that have no x's. Again, don't think about it like you're adding or like you're subtracting. Just think about it like you're combining. -5, +4. It makes -1. All right, we're on the very last question that we're doing together today. Find the perimeter. Now, we talked a little bit about perimeter. If you remember, Mr. Collier told the story about running that lap all the way around his school, and he got very tired, and it was like 2 miles long. The perimeter just means add up all the sides. So, if you're going to be adding up all the sides, we need to start off with this side, which is 7x squared. And we're going to add it together with, let's go with this side on top, 3x squared minus 5x plus 4. Is that all the sides of our rectangle? No, that is not all the sides of our rectangle, because we're still missing the side on the right, which is going to be the same exact size as the side on the left, 7x squared. So I'm going to put plus 7x squared. That means lunch is right around the corner. And then I'm going to finish with this piece, which is on the bottom. And I'm going to be running very close to out of room. 3x squared minus 5x plus 4. Whew, it's getting tight. Oh, but I am off the screen. There we go. So what I've got is the green side and another green side. I've got the pink side and another pink side. I just need to add them up. So all I need to do is combine like terms. Let's start with all of the x squared terms. I see 7, 3, 7, 3. How many x squareds do we have? 7 plus 3 plus 7 plus 3. I heard somebody say it. They're right. It's 20. 7 plus 3 plus 7 plus 3. 20. Nice. Now let's move on to the next piece. How many x's do we have? Minus 5. Minus 5. Now, remember, all we're doing is the nice, simple combining. I did have a student earlier who did 5 times 5, and they got this question wrong. It should be minus 10x. Because all we got, real simple, I see minus 5. Oh, come on, Desmos. Minus 5 minus 5. And the last thing I got left is plus 4 plus 4 plus 8. And that is the test review. We went through a lot of different types of questions. Remember, we have been so good at multiplying that these adding questions have kind of been where we lose our points. But the adding questions aren't supposed to be very hard. So let's make sure we get these points. Remember, I do want to point out, if you have the parentheses squared, just write it twice. And don't forget, we have this question, which is the allegedly hardest on the test. We've gone over a couple questions like this now. You might want to study that. All right.